A factory owner once faced a problem that threatened to ruin everything. Before sunrise, the main machine that powered his entire production line stopped working. At first, people assumed it was a minor fault. Someone checked the switches. Another worker inspected the belts. A technician opened the control panel and ran through the usual diagnostics. Nothing. Minutes became hours. Soon the noise of industry was replaced by something far more expensive: silence. The conveyor belt stood still. Workers waited with folded arms. Managers whispered to each other in growing frustration. Orders that should have left that day remained unfinished. Every hour the machine stayed dead, the factory bled money. The owner was a practical man, the kind who measured life in numbers. Output, time, efficiency, margins. And now all of it was collapsing because one machine had decided not to move. So he called in experts. The first team arrived with clipboards, meters, and confidence. They checked the wiring, tested the motor, examined the pressure system, and disassembled parts of the housing. They worked for hours, speaking in technical language, promising progress. But the machine stayed dead. Then came another specialist, then another barber. By late afternoon, the factory floor looked less like a business and more like a battlefield of failed theories. Tools were scattered everywhere. Panels lay open. Grease marked the floor. No one had an answer. The owner stood at the edge of the line, staring at the silent machine, calculating the cost of every passing minute. Finally, one of the older supervisors said, "There is one more man." The owner looked at him. "He does not work for a large firm," the supervisor said. "He is old now, mostly retired, but he has been fixing machines like this since before most of us were born." The owner had no better options left, so they sent for him. He arrived just before evening. He did not come with a truck full of equipment. He carried no impressive case of polished instruments. He stepped onto the factory floor with only a small, worn toolbox in one hand. Some of the younger engineers exchanged doubtful looks. This was the man? After an entire day of failed diagnostics, after teams of trained professionals had already taken the machine apart piece by piece, this quiet old man with a faded jacket and a dented toolbox was supposed to solve what no one else could? He said very little. He walked slowly around the machine. He did not rush. He did not perform. He simply observed. He paused near the motor housing. He listened. He moved to the rear assembly and placed one hand lightly against the metal frame, as if feeling for something hidden beneath the surface. Then he stepped back. The entire factory watched him. He opened his toolbox. From inside, he pulled out a small hammer. Not a large industrial tool, just a simple hammer. He raised it, leaned forward, and tapped one precise spot on the side of the machine. Once. The sound rang out across the silent floor. A second passed, then another, and suddenly the machine shuddered. A low vibration moved through the steel frame. The belts jerked. The motor turned. Then, like some sleeping giant waking from a curse, the whole production line roared back to life. Lights flickered. Wheels spun. Workers straightened in disbelief. Managers looked at each other in stunned silence. The factory was running again. The owner rushed forward, relief written all over his face. He thanked the old man again and again. The old man simply closed his toolbox and left. A few days later, the invoice arrived. The owner opened it casually, expecting a modest fee. Instead, he froze. The bill was for $50,000. His face darkened. £50,000. For what? For walking in, looking around, and hitting a machine once? He was furious. He dictated a letter immediately. Your charge is outrageous. You here for less than 15 minutes. You barely touch the machine. Send an itemized bill explaining this amount. The reply arrived the next morning. The owner opened the envelope and found only 2 lines. Tapping with hammer. £1 knowing where to tap. 49,999, and in that moment his anger disappeared. Because now he understood. He had not paid for a single tap. He had paid for the years behind it. For the thousands of hours no one had seen. For the failures, the repairs, the patterns recognized, the instincts refined, the judgment earned slowly over decades. He had paid for the ability to solve an expensive problem with precision. That is the part most people miss. We grow up believing money follows effort. We are taught that time is what creates value. That if something takes longer, it must be worth more. That hard work by itself should be enough. But the market has never really worked that way. The market does not pay you for how tired you are. It does not pay you for how long you struggled. It does not pay you for how many hours you spent. It pays you for usefulness. It pays you for results. It pays you for solving problems that matter. That is why one good decision can be worth more than a month of busy work. Why one line of code can save a company millions. Why one introduction can change a career. Why one insight, delivered at the right moment, can be more valuable than endless effort in the wrong direction. If all you sell is your time, there will always be a ceiling above your income. Because time runs out. But when you build rare knowledge, sharp judgment, and the ability to solve costly problems clearly and quickly, something changes. You stop being paid for labor. You start being paid for leverage. And leverage is where the real game begins. That is one of the biggest ideas in business. Value is not created only by effort. It is created by insight, by skill, by precision, and by knowing what matters most. The people who rise are not always the ones working the longest. Often, they are the ones who have learned where to tap. This is Big Ideas Library, where simple stories reveal the rules most people spend a lifetime learning too late.